Today on Call for Two, a quick spoiler-free review of 5 more boxes from the Deadbolt Mystery Society. Which of these games have the best puzzles and which have the best stories? Stay tuned to find out. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on the Deadbolt Mystery Society system. You can watch my previous review of 5 boxes on the channel if you want more in-depth discussion of the system, but a bit of preliminary stuff. This is a monthly subscription game sold through their website. Each box would normally cost maybe $25, $30, although they come on sale or you could buy them used for about $15. They're essentially puzzle games strung together with some narrative. Frequently it's a murder case, and the frequent setup is that you have to eliminate all the suspects until you get down to one. There are variations on this, but that's a common theme here. There's minimal use of the internet, occasionally a little multimedia audio that you listen to, but you do use a phone or a tablet to scan QR codes, which will open an encrypted PDF regularly that you'll have to put in the solution to, and then that'll give you another little, perhaps 1 page of story to advance the game and instruct you to open up an envelope or something. Minimal use of props in these games, in real contrast to the other big competitor here, Hunt a Killer. Here, the production quality is much less. The props are bare bones and minimal. The art is sort of fairly minimal, but the money goes into writing the cases rather than in the production quality of the individual components. They're all non-destructible, although occasionally you'll have to go to some lengths to avoid writing or folding a piece of material. But in general, non-destructible. You can find online a list of the contents for each box so you can reassemble it and pass it along or sell it. There are playthroughs of all of these, full playthroughs on the channel with me and others in the audience playing, ranging from 3 to 6 or 7 hours each. So if you're interested in seeing what these actually look like in practice, you could check out those playthroughs or even watch them after you play to see how we differ. And if you like this content, I hope you'll consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. So I tend to think of the Deadbolt Mystery Society games as following a kind of system that you can see if you keep playing these. There's a strong narrative story thread throughout the games. Often it's a compelling ongoing story, so rather than a pure cold case, things are unfolding as you play it. Typically you've got a number of acts that are arranged into envelopes that unlock as you progress. Puzzles are often multi-component, and it's not always clear what component goes with what puzzle. That's part of the fun. And often you've got a couple of puzzles you can work on at any one time, which is also fun. If you get stuck in one place, you can work on something else. And then there are a variety of puzzles. They tend to be sort of logic and abstract rather than the use of visual illusions. And there's frequently some sort of general deduction and reading comprehension going on. So parts of the story you have to pay attention to in order to solve certain puzzles. They've produced almost 75 boxes in this series, which is quite remarkable. And more remarkable given the fact that I tend to think of this company as having one of the more unusually consistently high level of quality control and sort of quality of the boxes. I have played 10 so far and yet to find a bad one. So they're all fairly high quality, fairly consistently good and bug-free. The theme of my ranking today is going to be sort of narrative story versus puzzle quality. So what I'm going to do here is basically just rank these in terms of playtime or difficulty, and then in terms of narrative quality, and then puzzle quality, and then my sort of overall subjective enjoyment of the 5 of these. So first let's talk about playtime or difficulty, and I tend to mix up the two. This is all very subjective, and depending on how your group hits one of these boxes, you could find one quite a bit harder than the other. Deadbolt Mystery Society does rank the difficulty of these games. They give them a number typically between 6 and 9. And that's a difficulty rating that the players give it after the game has been released. But again, it's very subjective, and our assessments of difficulty hasn't always matched up with the official difficulty, but I tend to think of length as a good proxy for difficulty. And if you watch our playthroughs, I'll give you how long it took us to play each of these. If you play alone, it's going to be a substantially harder experience and much more likely that you'll get stuck on a puzzle. So in terms of playtime here, Skeletons in the Closet, we went through the quickest. Took us about 3.5 hours to play through. This was released in 2023. It's sort of an Agatha Christie type setup. Now, when I say it took the group on the channel 3.5 hours to play, it won't take you 3.5 hours. Typically, it takes me 3 times longer to play on YouTube than in real life. So you might get an hour or 2 out of that one. Next up is the double feature of the Ventriloquist and Howl at the Moon. This is 2 separate games in this one box. I guess it's a little bit off screen here. 2 completely independent games, but they both have a sort of classic monster movie vibe. It took us 4 hours and 5 hours to play through those. This is rated at a difficulty level of 6, so was Skeletons in the Closet. Temple of X is next. This is rated at 6.5 difficulty, a little harder. It took us 5 hours to play through on the channel. Also released in 2023. This one was 2021, 2023. This is more of a sci-fi cult vibe. Blast from the Past clocked in at 6 hours of playtime, rated at difficulty of 8. So very high difficulty according to the official website. I'm not sure we would agree with that difficulty, but it is a long game. There's a lot of content here. And that game, I would say, is a little more campy, but is all about 1980s nostalgia. So if that's your thing, that box may appeal to you. And then Down the Rabbit Hole is the one that took us the longest and is the one that feels a little bit more experimental than the rest. That's rated at a difficulty of 7. The playthrough lasted 9 hours. This is released in 2022. Blast from the Past is 2021. This is sort of an Alice in Wonderland mental hospital mashup. And as I said, a little bit more unusual than the rest of them. Let's rank them in terms of narrative sort of satisfaction. I would rank maybe the Ventriloquist and Howl at the Moon double feature as the most enjoyable story elements, especially the Ventriloquist. Again, a lot of this is subjective, but to me, it was the most satisfying narratively. Followed as a close second, Temple of X. Then maybe Skeletons in the Closet, Down the Rabbit Hole, and then lastly, Blast from the Past. For me, even someone who's got a lot of familiarity with the 80s, the story was just a little less motivating and a little more sort of comic, cartoonish. In terms of puzzle quality, this is a little more difficult and my memory's a little bit fuzzy, but maybe Blast from the Past had the most clever puzzles, most well-balanced, followed by possibly Down the Rabbit Hole, then Skeletons in the Closet, then Temple of X, and then at the bottom end, of the quality of puzzle. Again, all consistently fairly good, but if you're going to rank them, maybe this set down at the bottom, so sort of opposite the narrative rankings. And lastly, my sort of overall subjective impression in terms of overall quality and enjoyment. If I were to rank these, I'd probably put this double feature at the top. It helps that you get the most bang for your buck here in terms of 2 games in one, but I think overall that's the one that sort of has stuck with me. And then close on its heels, Temple of X, the sci-fi cult story. Both of these have quite fun story elements. And then down the rabbit hole, I would rank third, maybe just because it's different, it's interesting, and it's long, which has its own value. And then Skeletons in the Closet for the sort of fun Agatha Christie cozy mystery game. And then the one that I guess I enjoyed least, even though it arguably may have some of the best puzzles and the best bang for your buck in terms of puzzles, is Blast from the Past, which just didn't motivate me enough to care about the characters enough to get the real, what I really look for in these Deadbolt Mystery Society games, which is this combination of narrative, compelling, ongoing story with the puzzles. So to wrap up here, these are all quite good and very smooth, bug-free experiences, and I think that's true of all the games in the Deadbolt Mystery Society that I've played so far. It's a little hard to recommend subscribing to the service, and I say that with some, well, it's not easy to say that because I do think the company is doing the right thing in terms of where they're putting their focus, and I do align well with their games, but $30 is a little high to play for a couple hours of enjoyment. But if you can buy these used or on sale, and they frequently do come on sale, then I think they're a bargain, and you almost can't go wrong with a box. You could pick a box based on its theme and have a good time. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you are interested in the Deadbolt Mystery Society games, I'd love to hear your thoughts on either of these. If you disagree, I'd love to hear your rankings if you've played these. And you might consider coming and joining us for a live playthrough one of these days, and give this video a like if you want to see more content like it. I'll see you on the next video.